Hello and welcome to another video of Math with Miss V. Today we are looking at dividing rational numbers. And as a reminder, our rational numbers are our positive numbers, our negative numbers, zero, fractions, and decimals. So we want to start off with a quick reminder of our rules. And the first is that if we have same signs when we're dividing, we get a positive answer. So for example, positive 2 divided by a positive 1 gives us a positive 2, but a negative 2 divided by a negative 1 also gives us a positive 2. Then different signs give us negative answers. So continuing with our 1 and our 2, a negative 2 divided by a positive 1 gives us a negative 2. Or if we have a positive 2 divided by a negative 1, we would still get a negative 2. So if our signs are different, we get a negative answer. And like with our multiplying, we can use the TIC-TAC-TOE method to organize our pluses and minuses to help us remember how we get a positive or a negative answer. So as always, the positives are on the diagonal. And the negatives fill in all of the extra spaces. So if we wanted to solve an example and say negative 10 divided by a positive 2, we can look to where we see a negative here, 10, followed by a positive, that would be this one, so 2, and it would give us a negative answer, which would be 5, so our answer is negative 5. Okay, so let's look at a few examples. We'll start with fractions, and then we will move into decimals. So here's our first set of examples. We're just going to deal with fractions first, then we're going to introduce one negative, then 2. So remember that when we divide fractions, we use the letters keep, change, flip. Or we use the words keep, change, flip. We also call this KCF. Okay, this is how we change a division into multiplication for fractions. So we keep the first one the same. We change division into multiplication, and we flip the second one over. Now we're ready to multiply. 1 times 7 is 7. 3 times 4 is 12. Okay, let's look at our next example. We have one negative. That doesn't affect our keep, change, flip. We will do the same thing. So we have negative 3 over 5 times 15 over 9. So we want to go ahead and simplify. So we can see that there are common factors between our 5 and our 15. They're both divisible by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 15 divided by 5 is 3. There are also common factors between our 3 and our 9. They're both divisible by 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. I want to keep the negative. So this is a negative 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So I have negative 1 times 3, which gives me a negative 3. 1 times 3 is 3. And I know any fraction where the numerator and the denominator are the same is just equal to 1, and I transfer my negative into my final answer. Okay, and so let's look at one more example. So we have negative 5 over 6 is what we're keeping the same. We're changing division into multiplication, and we're flipping our second number over. Now this one I'm just going to go ahead and multiply. So a -5 times a -6 is a positive 30. And a 6 times a 5 is also a positive 30. 30 over 30 is the same as positive 1. Okay, now let's look at a few more complex examples. These will have mixed numbers in them. Okay, so just like we can't multiply with mixed numbers without using a calculator, we can't divide with mixed numbers. So the first thing we have to do is get rid of the mixed number, and we do that by multiplying the denominator times the whole number, and then we add the numerator. So 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7, so this is 7 over 5. We bring down our -1/2, and we bring down our division sign. Now we're ready to do our keep, change, flip, our KCF. So 1/2 negative times 5 over 7. There's nothing that we can reduce, so we say 1 times 5 is 5. -2 times 7 is -14. And remember, if you don't like the negative in the denominator, we can put it out to the side. So 5 over 14, and put your negative out to the side, or you can put it in with the numerator on. Okay, so these are all acceptable answers, and they represent the same thing. Okay, one more example with fractions. So we have two mixed numbers. We'll have to change them both into improper fractions. We start with multiplying, then we add. So 5 times 2 is 10, plus 4 more is 14. We have 14 over 5. Keep the negative, I'm going to put it in the numerator, divided by 4 times 6 is 24, plus 3 more is 27 over 4. Okay, now we're going to do our keep, change, flip. So keep the 14 over 5, change multiplication, division into multiplication, flip the second one over. Okay, nothing simplifies out. There's no common factors between my numerators and denominators, so I'm going to multiply. -14 times 4, that's a positive times a negative, that gives me a negative answer. 14 times 4 is 56. 5 times 27 is 135. So our final answer is -56 over 135. Now let us look at a few decimal examples. These will all divide out evenly. They are based in our multiplication fact families. So I have 1.2 divided by 0.12. If you're not sure about how your decimal points work, go ahead and set up long division. So 0.12 divided into 1.2. Okay, we have a negative divided by a positive, so it gives us a negative answer. Remember, we have to move our decimal point. We'll fill in this empty spot with a 0. 12 will go into 12 one time. 12 will go into 0 0 times, so our answer is -10. The next one, how many? This is another way to show division. So we have -6, 0.6 divided into 24. Okay, we move the decimal point one place to the right. 6 will go into 24 4 times. 4 times 6 is 24. We get a 0 when we subtract. 6 will go into 0 0 times. A negative divided by a negative makes a positive. So our final answer is 40. And for the last one, -2.1 divided by 7. We don't have to move any decimal points. 7 will go into 2.13 times. 3 times 7 is 21. Subtract, we get a 0. The last thing we have to do is move our decimal point into our answer. And best math practices say put a 0 in the front. Now a negative divided by a positive gives us a negative answer, so this is negative 0.3. And that is how you divide rational numbers.